Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the webinar. We are going to go ahead and get started. This is Heather Creven from the Nebraska Recycling Council, and NRC is a statewide member-based charitable nonprofit. Our mission is to maximize the economic and environmental benefits of resource recovery in Nebraska. We offer recycling grants for equipment, an online recycling guide, zero waste and hub and spoke consultation for communities and business recycling assessment. Our goal is to support collaboration between communities, businesses, and the solid waste and recycling industries to improve recycling collection and infrastructure for Nebraska. In this webinar, you will learn about recycling EPS foam, also known as expanded polystyrene, or number 6 plastic, and often mistakenly called styrofoam. Plastilite Corporation, a manufacturer of EPS coolers, is the only company in Nebraska that offers a public drop-off site for EPS coolers and packaging materials, and they have an EPS mail-back program. Barry Crehaw, Vice President of Marketing for Plastilite Corporation, will discuss why his company offers these recycling options, explain the 3 processes that can be used to recycle EPS, and how each one is used to manufacture new products. Barry Crehaw has been with Plastilite Corporation for almost 2 years. Previously, he worked in the broadcasting and ad agency world for nearly 20 years. Born in Gibbon, Nebraska, Barry graduated from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. When he's not working or raising his 2 boys, he enjoys playing hockey and has been a part of winning 2 Guinness World Records. During the webinar, please type your questions in the chat box as they come to mind, and there will be a question and answer at the end of the presentation. A recording of this presentation will be made available on our website at nrcne.org. Click on the Resources tab and then under Webinars. Thank you again for attending today, and there will be a slight delay as I turn the presentation over to Mr. Crehaw.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm going to do one thing real quick so I don't have annoying pop-ups. Here we go. All right, first things first, question number 1. I think you guys will be able to select this on your screen. But the first question was, before today, how many of you knew that you could recycle EPS foam? Just click either yes or no, and then we'll give you guys a few seconds to do that, and then Heather will get us the results. All right, that should be enough time. Heather, what do you have for results?
So I have that 78% knew before that EPS foam was recyclable, and 22% did not.
Did not. Okay, that's good. Because a lot of people that we talk to do not know that you can, and you have been able to for years, but they also don't know that, and some people that did know don't know where to take it or what to do with it. So I'm going to kind of start off to tell you a little bit about who we are, kind of what we do, our manufacturing process, just kind of give you the basics of how we work and what our industry does, and then I'll get into the recycling and all that good stuff. As Heather said, I work for Plastilite Corporation. This is a picture of our 100,000 square foot warehouse, which is in northeast Omaha, just off I-680. We also have a 40,000 square foot plant where we make all of our EPS coolers and protected packaging. We've been in business since 1958. We were founded by a gentleman there. He sold the business to our current owner in the late 80s, and we have about 80 employees. Within our company, Plastilite is our main division, or main corporation, if you want to call it that. And then we have 3 divisions underneath it. IntegraTemp is our industrial side. It's called cold chain. So if you ever get any food shipped to you, like Omaha Steaks or Blue Apron, things like that, that's what those guys work on. We also see a lot of medicine being shipped nowadays. So we make the EPS foam coolers that those go into. R&R Recreation is our retail side, so if you ever go to like a Casey's or a Come and Go or a Hy-Vee gas station or even Hy-Vee grocery stores, you'll see our retail coolers there. And then how we kind of got our start back in the late 50s, our new fishing brand called Rebel Fin. We used to make foam fishing floats way back in the day. We still carry a fishing line that we've been doing that for decades, and that's where a lot of people on the fishing side know us, is through our bobbers and then also our bait, our EPS foam bait buckets and bait containers. So how are what do we do? How do we do it? You know, how do we make our buckets? How do we make our coolers? Basically, it starts out with what we call bead. On the right is a 2,000 pound. That's how we get our bead in. We get these in trailers, and we go through several million pounds of this stuff a year. On the right side is me pulling some of it out, and it literally is like little grains of sand that have wax on them. So they're super tiny. You got to kind of watch when you open up these bags because it can spill all over the place. But this is how we get it. We expand it, which is basically we use steam in this expander. And it can take, anywhere from, several, minutes to a couple hours to expand it. Once you expand it, you have to age it. It's kind of like beer. And depending on the type of bead that we purchase, and also depends on what the client's needs are, it can sit in these bags anywhere from 2 hours all the way up to about 12 hours to age. And when you age it, you just kind of get the gases out of that bead. Once you do that, then you take it to a machine, a molding machine, and depending on what mold you have in there, like this is for our fishing minnow buckets. You can kind of see them in there in that kind of orange net. But depending on what part we have in there, like I said, coolers, we do protective packaging, which are like corners on the TVs that you purchase at, like, say, a Best Buy. But it goes here. This is where they're made. You literally shoot that the expanded bead into the mold. You apply more heat to it, more steam, and then it comes out as a molded part. And then obviously once, our customers order from us, we palletize it, we ship it, and we get it out to them. All right, question number 2. This is going to be an interactive one today, folks. So Heather, if you would throw up question number 2 on the screen. Do you guys know what the difference between EPS foam and styrofoam is? We'll give you guys a couple of seconds to either check yes or check no. Because there is, it's kind of what's like saying, the distinction without a difference. All right, good. So you guys are at the right webinar. So about what 70-30 know what styrofoam is and what EPS foam is. Perfect. All right. So what's the difference? EPS foam is called. It stands for expanded polystyrene. And common products you're going to find it in, like I've said, is coolers. Some wine shippers will send their wine in there. Protective packaging corners. So when you go buy a TV, you'll find it there. And any other kind of shipping protectors that you may see. You may see like little triangle pieces or rectangular pieces that they'll put in between like desks or furniture or things like that. And down below is kind of your typical EPS foam products. 99% of the time it's going to be white. It can come in the form of cups. It can come in the form of food containers. Again, coolers that you get from, say, Omaha Steaks, things like that. And if you look at it, you can really see the little beads that have been expanded. You can see them throughout. Styrofoam, though, it's a trademark of Dow Chemical. And styrofoam, the technical name for it is extruded polystyrene. So where EPS is expanded, styrofoam is extruded. And for the most part, this is used primarily in building products for insulation. And you're probably going to see it blue, and you're going to see the Dow and the styrofoam branding on it. If even this is too technical for some folks, I basically say EPS foam is to Dippin' Dots as what styrofoam is to ice cream. So Dippin' Dots, again, you can see the little spheres. They're not compacted, obviously, like a EPS foam cooler is, but you kind of get the idea. Whereas ice cream, manufactured on a mass scale, they're just going to shoot it in there, and it's kind of, as I do my air quotes, extruded into that. So that's kind of the difference between the two. We can take some styrofoam to recycle. We've worked with the Habitat for Humanity here in town, so we can run it through our densifier, and I'll talk about how we do all that stuff here. But for the most part, right now, we just take EPS foam. Now, why did we decide to recycle EPS foam? Years back, our saying from our owner was, if you ever wanted to know where the dump was, just follow one of our trucks, because we were sending way too much EPS foam to the dump because of scrap, because of mistakes, things like that. He decided we're not doing this anymore. What are the procedures? What do we need to do to stop that? So with his push, and also with our CEO being on board, that was kind of the driver of, all right, we need to be a better corporate citizen, at least internally, so this is what we're going to do. When we then expanded into our public drop-off sites and mail-back sites, obviously the CEO and owner were 100% behind it, and again, we have, as I give this talk to other groups like our company, I tell them that they have to get buy-in and 100% support from their leadership. But then also don't forget about the warehouse people, that they have to know what happens when somebody comes up with either a few coolers, or in some cases, we'll have people bring U-Haul trailers full of EPS foam for us to recycle. You have to also let the plant know what's going on so they can develop some standard operating procedures. I just had, that's why I was kind of stalling there for a second. Our front desk lady actually came in here and handed me a note, but she needs to know what happens if somebody does call and has questions about recycling and what do we take and when can they drop it off and things like that. And also I give weekly updates to our management and our sales teams because with some of our customers now, it is important to them that they know that we recycle and that we can help them recycle and reuse any EPS foam product that we ship to them and they ship off to their customers. Now, how to recycle EPS? There's 3 different ways to do it. There's obviously recycling it, then you can also reuse it, and then you can also repurpose it. So when you truly recycle EPS, we call that pelletizing. So basically, somebody brings a cooler back, somebody brings some type of EPS foam product back to us. We're going to densify it, which basically means we're going to melt it down into like a sausage type thing that comes out of our densifier. We're then going to run it through a pelletizer, which basically chops it up into small little pellets, and then you re-infuse it with gas to expand it back out again. Now, the advantages for us to do that is any scrap material that we have or any material that is brought to us, we can reuse. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to go out and buy it, and it'll go in those big white bags that you saw earlier. I'm not going to say it's free. Obviously, there's some electricity and there's some utilities and some labor that goes into to repurposing it or recycling it, but it is cheaper than just to go and outright buy the raw material. Disadvantage, though, is you need special equipment to do that. You need special technical knowledge to do that, and you need somebody that knows how to infuse it, again, with gas. We do have a pelletizer. We had purchased one several years back because we were going to do this, but some other needs arose, and we just don't have the technical knowledge right now to do that, but it is in our 3 to 5 year plan to do that, so it's still on our drawing board. The other way is to reuse, and we call that regrind. So basically what you do, so again, somebody brings the cooler back to us, we basically just chop it up into little pieces and parts, basically, super small, that a lot can fit in your hand. And then as we're making new coolers or making new buckets or bait containers, we then take that regrind material and we put it back into, when they shoot the new stuff in, we can shoot the regrind in. And coolers can have up to 20% regrind in it and still keep their thermal properties that our clients need. But talking to other individuals that do what we do throughout the country, there are some, they may do 5% regrind, they may do 10%, but there are a few of them out there that do have customers that will only order from them if they have some type of regrind put back into their coolers, because then they can tell their customers, hey, we do buy, the cooler you are buying does have recycled material in it. Advantages for us or for anybody in our industry, obviously it's just like when you pelletize. We can use any scrap that we have and put it back into this process, or any materials that are brought to us, we can do the same. And again, it is cheaper than buying the outright raw bead. There are some input costs, but for the most part, it is cheaper. Disadvantages, though, it does create a lot of dust, and again, we need special equipment to add to our presses to do this process. We actually did have a company in this past week to show us that equipment. So this is also one thing that we are looking at doing as well here in the next, this one's probably maybe 1 to 2 years out, because it is an easier process than, say, pelletizing. And then the biggie, the one that we do, I call it repurpose, but it's densify. So basically you melt down 45 minutes. I'm going to be 45 minutes, yep. You melt it down into bricks, and then we resell it to other businesses that need that type of plastic to make certain products. The ones we sell to now, they make picture frames out of our densified EPS. We also have heard that people can make screwdriver handles out of it, surfboards, crown molding. Really, there are certain types of plastic that's perfect for our densified material. Advantages, it's really easy to densify. You literally just throw it into, and I'll show you a picture of what one of our machines looks like, but you throw it in and out comes the material. Again, pretty simple. The disadvantages, though, is when you get it can get heavy. If you pick up a regular cooler, obviously those aren't very heavy. They're basically 95% air. That's why they're so light. But when you densify it, it takes all the air out. And when you try to ship, this stuff, that's how we package it. Each one of those pallets weighs about 2,000 pounds, so it can get pretty heavy. And then obviously you have shipping charges and things like that. When it comes out of a machine, that's the picture on the left. Like I said, it comes out just like kind of like a sausage. That's the best way to describe it. These are our densifiers. We have one in the warehouse and one in the plant. You can see the one in the plant, it has a cooler going in on that conveyor belt. That's, as it goes in there, there's some arms that chop it up. It gets shot into that bag into little pieces, and then it goes down into, and where that door is open, that's where it comes out in kind of that sausage. What I'm not showing you there, though, is when it comes in, it goes into a little box. That's how we make those shapes that you see on the right. And then would we recycle internally? All of our scrap, all of our bad parts, we throw them in these big blue kind of trash bags. And so this, we know we have to take it to our densifier, and that it needs to be recycled. Okay, time for another question. This one is, in your organization, how many blue bags of EPS foam could you recycle in 1 month? And those blue bags hold about 2 cubic yards. So just think of those kind of recycle bins that you can kind of go to, where you can drop off like clothing or things like that. That's about maybe a cubic yard and a half. But within your organization, how much EPS foam could you recycle in a month? And we'll give you a couple more seconds to answer that. Okay, and the results? Less than 1, okay, and then there are some 6 or more. Interesting. Yeah, depending on who you are, like when we've done some events around here, some of the medical clinics around town, those folks, they bring us a minivan full of EPS foam containers, and they said that, and they sometimes say they can bring us even more than that. I know schools, when start of the year, when they get new technology in, we'll have a lot, you know, kind of at a start of the school year. Some businesses, though, and some people, like we've had people, they'll hold on to coolers, or they've held on to them for 10 years, and then once they found out that that we do this, they decided to bring them in. So yeah, your how much you have kind of depends on your business and also your industry. So when we decided to roll out the public portion, because we've been recycling internally for several years, when we decided to offer this to the public, because our customers were asking for something to tell their customers, so we decided to join one of our industry organizations, talk to them about best practices, some things that worked for other people, things that didn't work. So what we decided to do was to become both a drop-off recycle site, and this is a picture of our bin that's right out in front of our warehouse. As you can see, it's full. Almost every day we have to empty it because it gets full. Sometimes we empty it several times a day because people will find out about us, and like I said, we'll bring in an entire minivan full. But we also ask people kind of there on the side to also help promote that you can recycle EPS, so that helps get the name out. Again, this is a picture of our front, so it's easily accessible. Since it is outside, since it's right there, we tell people it's 24/7, 365. Like I said, we also are a mail-back site, so really anybody that's a client of ours or even not, we've seen Nutrisystem coolers come back to us, and one of our they're not really our partner, but they do what we do back east. They make all those coolers, and we see a lot of those come in as well. So we're more than happy to take anything we make or anything other people make, either dropping it off here or through the mail-back site. One of the things we initially did too was we partnered with our recycling company, First Star Fiber, here out of Omaha, because they are really they for us are the recycling experts. And so we asked, hey, how could we, what are you doing to do this, and how can we help you? They currently do not take or will recycle EPS foam, but what they have done, though, is that if there is a client, if there is an event, if there's something that we can help them with, they will either put that company in touch with us, or they'll put us in touch with that event or organization, and we'll see if we can bring out what we did. We ended up wrapping one of our trailers, to look really nice, so when people see it, hopefully they kind of know A, who we are, and B, that we're that EPS recycling company. So we take this out to events. We also, on the back of our door, we've basically taken the exact same verbiage from our recycle bin out front and put this on the back door of that big 53-foot trailer. So it's a basically driving billboard for us to let people know, hey, you can recycle foam packaging, and here's the steps, and here's how you do it. One of the partners that First Star Fiber told us about, and we reached out to, was the Henry Doorly Zoo. And for those of you that may not be or are not from Nebraska, that may be on this call, when you get a second, just Google search World's Best Zoo, and believe it or not, Henry Doorly Zoo will pop up. When I do this presentation or a version of it, I'm doing it throughout the country. I have people pull their cell phones out and do that, and they're surprised that one of the best zoos in the world is in Omaha. But they get a lot of containers their animals have to eat. Mostly, they say the fish that they feed their animals come in this, and they were getting, 15, 20, 30 of these a week, and they just really didn't like throwing them away. We talked to them, said, hey, in one of our routes, we can easily swing by there. So like all good zoo folks do, I guess, they build a cage for it. And so this is out back by one of their maintenance sheds, and any employee can drop off styrofoam. Any of their zoo folks that have food that comes in, we just ask them to make sure it's clean. But they throw it in here, and we stop by every other week to empty this and bring all those EPS products back so we can recycle. Through that, though, we did do some educational efforts with them. They have every year done Party for the Planet. All the zoos do this the weekend of or the weekend before Earth Day. So it's a great way for us to get out, see the folks, talk to them. We set up this display. We show them, hey, here's how we recycle. Here's our blue bag that we throw all of our unusable parts in. We walk them through the process. There's some jars on there. We show them what the bead looks like, what it looks like expanded, what it looks like when we densify it. And then obviously, like I said, we roll our big trailer out with our messaging on the back of how to recycle EPS foam. And this past year when we did it, we had several people within the community drive up in minivans and drop off minivans full of EPS products. I think we filled up 5 of those blue bags this year. So we considered it a good success. Through all this, I was able to get some press coverage. So I went on Grow Omaha's radio show on 1110 KFAB here in town and talked about our efforts. So that helped get the word out. What we've seen that has worked really, really, really well for us is Channel 3 here in Omaha, the CBS affiliate, came out and they did a story about our recycling efforts and opening up the bin and the mailback site. With that, and we did this back in May of last year, so a little more than a year. If you were still type in today, Styrofoam Recycling Omaha, Nebraska, the top link that pops up is that story that people still click on, and it still generates exposure for us. So here's our Google stats up through February of this year. But obviously, initially, the first story that came out, that's where you get that spike. But then through the year, we saw kind of another spike in November, and then it kind of wanes off, and then back up, January, February. I think people, especially around that time of year, you get Christmas gifts, you get packages from work that may be food, and people want to know how to recycle. So, that's a popular search term that I monitor now, and we're working on some SEO and some AdWords on trying to get to capture more of that so we can track it, so we can get more people to our website. Also reaching out to the public, our industry alliance, the EPSIA, they have us on their map, so people can obviously see that, but also throughout the country, you can see where there may be some locations that might be near some of your colleagues or some of your branches or some of your relatives to where they can drop off EPS foam. To go to this, if you just go to plastilite.com/recycle, there's a little green button that you can click on that I think it says something like EPS map or something like that. So, but just go to plastilite.com/recycle and you'll be able to see that map. Once we did that, once we got listed, it was kind of surprising. Within a couple of days, we had our first guy come in and want to drop off his coolers. And this is one of the guys that has been holding on to them for years in his garage, but just didn't want to throw them away. So he was really excited that we were offering this, and he comes back. He collects some from his neighbors, and so whenever he's in town, he'll stop by and he'll drop off some EPS for us. Businesses are finding out about us as well. The word is spreading. These are from Blue Moon Fitness here in town. They have several gyms, and this was right before Christmas, and they got a bunch of new equipment. And these things are about the size of a twin size mattress, but about twice as thick. So these things were huge. And he literally pulled up in a humongous U-Haul rental and just said, "What do I do with this?" We'd never had any that big. And so we're like, well, just pull up to our shipping dock and here you go. So he dropped all that off. We were able to fill up several bags from him. And again, like I said, out front, we want people to promote this as well, share with it with their friends on Facebook, with their friends on Twitter. And what we're using is the hashtag #RecycleEPS. When I gave a talk to our industry alliance here a couple of months ago, I said, this is what we're doing. Obviously, you don't have to do what we are doing, but I highly recommend that as an industry, anything we talk about recycling, we tag it with #RecycleEPS. And we were really the only ones using it to do on our recycling. So before that conference, we may have had 3 or 4 tags of people doing that, either on Twitter, which you see here on the left, or Facebook on the right. After the conference and after we said, hey, you need to do that, I think we've had 60 doing this now. So it's great to see that. And this is kind of where you kind of build that momentum of letting people know, people seeing this, you get it right in front of the right people at the right time, or even when people start searching for, hey, how do I recycle styrofoam? Even though technically it's not styrofoam, but we get it. But here they can see this and know that, hey, there is a way to do it. I can do it, and here's where I can. Other things we're doing internally to help not only us, the public, and also our clients and their customers. We printed up these recycling cards. So whenever we do a trade show, whenever I speak at an industry or a group, whether it's a church group, a school group, an industry group, a group like this, I bring these cards, and it's basically just tells you, you can recycle it. Here's what you need to do before. This is what we take. And then it gives our address on the back, obviously, and then how they can mail it back to us. We do the same cards for some of our customers. We have a customer that ships ice cream throughout the country. We customized this that had their branding, their logos. It was basically just our content. We're more than happy to do that, and more of our clients are requesting this. We put a Recycle 6 symbol on our coolers, and we're also thinking of putting the plastilite.com/recycle website on there so people can see that and type that address in, and then they can go there and get tips on how and where they can recycle our cooler. We do an e-newsletter every month for all of our divisions, and within each e-newsletter, I have a little segment on recycling. So I'm always promoting the recycling message. You can recycle this. Here's where you do it. Here's a map. It's kind of the same stuff over and over, but you never know when somebody doesn't see something the first time, but then finally runs across it after the second or third. So we're always constantly promoting that. Like I said, we're always trying to expand as the social media and the search engine optimization landscape kind of changes. We try to stay with those changes as well. So we're trying to expand and do more in the social media and SEO realm. As I've mentioned it before, we do have a custom page. And when I say custom, there's really no links to it on our website. You physically have to type in plastilite.com/recycle to get to it. We did this just so we can track, so we know how many people are coming to our site for certain events or certain things that we do. For example, when we did the zoo this year, they on their Facebook page mentioned we were going to be there and put this link on there. And that day, it was the highest hits even for an entire website. That page saw more hits on that one day than any previous in the history of our website. So that was kind of cool to see. But if you scroll down that green bar right there, that's where you're going to click to see the map that lists all the other EPS locations that will take back EPS and recycle it for you. And with that, last question of this webinar before I will answer your questions if you have any. And the last question is, what is EPS foam more like, Dippin' Dots or ice cream? I figured this was kind of appropriate right before lunch. So, and hopefully the results say Dippin' Dots. We'll see here. Yep, good job, guys. You all were paying attention. So here's all my contact information here at Plastolite, also on Twitter as well. Feel free to email me. Any questions, any comments. Actually, I had a guy from University of Colorado call me yesterday, seeing that I was doing this, and we had a good conversation. As I told him, you know, our business is making EPS coolers or products. We're not in the pickup of this. So getting coolers, getting foam products to us, that's kind of our hurdle. That's what we're trying to figure out, how we can either help people do that better, or how can we make it kind of a win-win situation for both of us. So I'm always interested in hearing ideas from other folks, what may have been tried in the past, what didn't work, what maybe kind of worked. So any questions, any comments, feel free to give me a buzz, email me, look me up on Twitter, you know, tweet me or whatever. But this is something that our corporation and our company and our employees feel very strongly about, and you know, we want to do the right thing. This is the right thing to offer this, and this is just the start for us. So Heather, I'm all finished. If you have any questions from anybody, I think if you look on the little control panel thing, there's a chat. So if you do have a question, just type your question in there, and then I'll try to answer it as best as I can.
Okay, Barry, we have multiple questions. The first one is why do the gases need to be removed? Are they harmful?
No, they're not. It's just, I'm not a scientist, but basically there's styrene. When they collapse the cell, if you look at the bead under a microscope when it's expanded, there's like these little like structures in there, and it's all filled with air, and that's why this works so great and has worked so great for 60 years as an insulating product, because air is one of your best insulators, and with our coolers they can be anywhere from 1 inch to 2 inches thick, so depending on, but when it's collapsed, it needs something to basically make it pop, and so that's what that gas, the styrene, helps do. In overwhelming doses, like you're swimming in this stuff, styrene has been shown, which, you know, I think even Diet Coke has been shown to cause cancer, but in massive amounts that nobody would ever get in a lifetime, with it has been shown, or it's likely to cause cancer. But within this, it is so minuscule that, again, you'd have to be exposed to this stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 500 years before even one extra incidence of cancer would appear. So no, but with that, with the aging process too, the gases just need to expel, so the bead and everything can adhere better, and it fully expands. So.
And then my next question is, what about to-go containers from restaurants? Is that styrofoam?
Yes, it is styrofoam. It's a little bit different, but most of the times they will put a Recycle 6 symbol on it. So as long as it has that, and I have told people when they do call in that we will accept that, but it cannot have any food waste in it or be discolored in any way. we can take it with a little bit of discoloration. I know, like when you go to say an Italian place and you put some spaghetti sauce in there, it'll kind of leave that little bit of red, tint to it because the spaghetti sauce is kind of coloring it. As long as you wash it out and it's not too visible, we can take it. But if there's and we've seen it a couple times, not a lot. But some people will come here and they'll just throw their food containers in there with food and stuff. So it's kind of a pain for our guys, but they just pull it out and, there's nothing we can do with it. We just have to throw it away. So, but as long as it says a 6 on it and it's clean, we can take it. And if there's anybody, again, calling from out of state and you do see a recycler on that map that's close to you, I would call them and just double check to see if they do the same thing.
And then my next question is, what kind of gas is infused in the beads?
Styrene.
And the next question is there an issue recycling coolers that already contain regrind material?
Are there issues with them?
Yeah, can they be recycled even if they already have regrind material in them?
Yep, because it's pretty much it's the exact same stuff. So so we can take them back and recycle them and do the same thing, either pelletize it or do the regrind or densify it and turn it into picture frames.
And then my next question is, where do you get the extra large blue bags, and can they be recycled?
Yes, they can, and we get them from a company here in Omaha, and I don't know the name off the top of my head, but if anybody's interested, just email me and just say, hey, let me know where you get your blue bags, and I can forward you their contact information. But we get them here in Omaha.
And you kind of touched on a little bit on this question, but the question is, can you take dirty foam? And if you can, how dirty can it be?
That's a good question. We've seen some, like people will have it like on boat docks, and it's very yellow and it's very weathered. We can't take that. Some people, they'll just have it out in their yard and they'll have some dirt on it. It's kind of hard to say. It needs to be as clean as possible. A couple of scuffs here and there isn't going to really matter that much, because really all we're doing is melting it down, taking all the air out, melting it down, and then, at least for us, sell it to that company that makes picture frames out of it. So, I have a couple from Lincoln that they'll come when they come up to Omaha. They always stop and they always want me to look at their stuff. 99% of the time, if it's a little what they have, what they consider dirty, we accept. There's only been a couple of things where there may be like mud on it, or like one whole side just has, it's kind of dusty and dirty. We can't take that. So, if anybody has any questions and they bring it to us, usually I go out and I inspect it real quick. And like I said, though, most of the time, a little dirt, a little dust isn't gonna harm it, and we can take it.
And then my next question is, how can a community request to have a drop-off kiosk or start a collection effort?
For your community, well, it really depends. Like here in Omaha, obviously there's the office down in the mayor's office. I've talked to them a little bit. The problem with it, though, is because we would love to see these recycle bins all over town. The problem we see is who's going to pick it up, who's going to staff it, who's going to get it to us. Like I said, ours is right out in front. Some days it gets filled up once. Some days it may get only half full. Some days it gets filled up 3 times. So the management of it is what we see, might be preventing this from happening. But then also getting it to us as well might be preventing the recycling efforts as well. So really, it's kind of like what I'm doing here. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what those answers are, but I'm willing to say, hey, this is what we can do in this kind of chain of this process. Who else can help us do this? So I think it really you just got to start like what I did, and that's how I found the Nebraska Recycling Council. I just started making phone calls and doing web searches got us listed, and here we are today. So it just takes time and effort, and who knows where this will go. But our goal is to have these recycle bins all over town and have a partner help us collect it and then get it to us somehow so we can recycle. Or maybe there's a program with a company that we put a densifier in their place, and we help them, show them how to do it, and put them in touch with the folks that we resell it to and all that. So I mean, there's a ton of options. It's just, again, like I said, I don't know everything, and that's why I do these things, to hopefully meet the people that are smarter, or the people that have the connections that we can do something.
And then the next question, Barry, is do you also take extruded polystyrene?
We can. It just really depends. Like some of the stuff that when we have partnered with Habitat for Humanity, some of those in insulation panels we can take, but some of them we can't because they have a plastic film on one side, so it won't go through our densifier machine. So it really just depends. If you have a lot of it, I'm more than happy to come out and inspect it, so you don't have to bring it here. Or if you can just shoot pictures of it and email it to me, I can look at it real quick and even run it by our plant manager to see what he says and what his opinion is.
And then the next question, they just want some clarification on, can food packaging be recycled or not?
Yes and no. If it's clean, yes. And if it has a Recycle 6 underneath, yes, we can recycle it. There are some companies out there, and that's how we got hooked up with the zoo. There are some companies out there that they will, if you buy their plate and then their densifier, they will buy that back from you, and you can have food waste. They want you to scrape it off a little bit, but for the most part, yeah, like a cafeteria. Kids are, eating, they do whatever, they kind of, shake the food waste off into one container. They then throw their cup and their plate in another container. They take, then at the end of the day, they take that container, they throw it in this densifier, it melts it down into a big brick, and then the company that sells you the plates and the densifier buys that big brick back, and then they, in turn, make more plates and cups out of it. So there is a company like that. How much that costs and all that, I have no idea, but that's how we kind of got started with the zoo, because it turns out when First Star was talking to them, they had mentioned all the food containers for the animals. So that's how we got involved with that. So it's a hard question to answer, but in short, if you have food waste on it, you might want to go with that company. If it's clean and it has a number 6, we can take it.
And then, are you the only place in Nebraska where people can turn in EPS?
Correct. The closest one to the east, I believe, is an hour south of Kansas City and southeast Iowa. The closest to the west is Denver. So, and that's why we do the mail back as well, just because we had a veterinary clinic in McCook. They send us their EPS of their medicine that they get in. It just makes no sense for them to drive all the way to Omaha to drop it off to us, so they just mail it to us. So.
And then the next question, Barry, is, are there any emissions associated with your pelletizing, regrinding, or desification processes?
That would be a plant manager question. I don't even want to try to, I'll probably botch that one. So whoever asked that, if you would email me, and I can get with our plant manager and I can get you a good answer on that one.
And then the last question, Barry, is what percentage of your total production has recycled materials in it?
Right now for us, 0. All of ours is from virgin bead, but we are in the process. We just had a meeting this past week with a company that makes the machines that allows us to put the regrind back in to make some of our coolers have recycled material or reground material. So currently right now, 0, but we are in the process of doing that.
And again, Barry, I want to thank you for your time and for the information that you provided us with today. And I want to thank everyone for attending.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.